Apple's new M5 Vision Pro is here, and it's a pretty good step forward than what we've seen since the headset launched back in 2024. At first glance, it looks pretty much identical to the original because, well, it is on the outside. It's the same overall shape, you have the same front glass design, the same aluminum frame, but once you put it on and start using it, the changes are pretty noticeable. This is definitely a refinement update for sure, but it's a meaningful one, especially for day-to-day performance, for comfort with this new dual knit band, and the overall feeling of using visionOS 26 with the new M5 chip. So let's talk about the M5 chip. It's the first big change. It's the most obvious one, the chip bump. Now you're pairing the previous R1 with Apple's new M5. Apple's gone from the M2 to M5 here, so obviously it's not just M4 to M5, one of those year-over-year refinements. This is a pretty substantial upgrade. You have the new third generation 3nm architecture, and its 10-core CPU with the world's fastest performance cores, brand new GPU design with hardware-level ray tracing and mesh shading, and the neural engine that's both faster and more efficient. All of the buzzwords for the specs. Unified memory bandwidth has also jumped about 50%. But in practical use, that means everything just moves faster. Environments load almost instantaneously. Eye and hand tracking latency feels even lower, and spatial apps that used to stutter, especially when multitasking, and running all of these side by side, run flawlessly. Couple of pain points from the previous generation would be creating your persona, much faster with M5. Generating spatial photos is damn near instantaneous now, and Mac Virtual Display, my favorite thing to do on this machine, is so much more improved thanks to the M5 and how it improves the already existing micro OLED displays. Now, jumping into the displays, it's a better new display pipeline. The micro OLED panels are still the same from what we had before, running in at 23 million pixels total, but the M5 can now render about 10% more of those pixels overall. And that's a pretty big bump, and it now supports 120 Hz refresh rates, up from 100. So that translates to smoother motion, less blur, and a much crisper image, especially when using, again, the Mac Virtual Display. Apple says the virtual Mac screen now looks equivalent to two 5K monitors side by side, and to me that's not a big exaggeration. It's pretty pin sharp. Even when reading small text, or for me when editing in my Final Cut Pro timeline, things just look a lot sharper. It's also been making steady improvements via software over the last year, nearly 2 years now, but with the addition of the M5, the Mac Virtual Display is almost perfect in my opinion. I still love using the new wide and ultra-wide modes, especially with better rendering of the virtual display. Any distance that I seem to move this display seems crisp and sharp, and there's no longer that weird foveated rendering that's happening. Or at least if it is, it's not as obvious, so when I glance out of my peripherals before, it was all just blurry until you focused on it, but now I don't notice that at all. I mean, look at the amount of screen real estate that I have here, and I can bring this level of productivity in my workflow anywhere, and that's truly underrated in my opinion. Then there's the new comfort, and that's strictly because of this new dual knit band, which completely changes the wear experience in my opinion, but it's still not perfect, so don't think you're going to be wearing this for 6 hours at a time. I know some people do, and that's wild to me, but instead of the single strap that tightens across the back of your head, it's a 3D knitted dual band system with a counterbalance design. The weight is distributed between the top and the back of your head, which makes the headset feel lighter overall, despite it being a tiny bit heavier thanks to the band. The band has some weight to it. There's also this new dual function fit dial, which lets you fine tune the top and bottom straps independently with just one dial. So you can really dial in your fit perfectly for each strap. And it's Apple over-engineering at its finest. I mean, it actually took me by surprise. I took it out of the box, put it on immediately. I did not start it up. I just wanted to see how well this fit. And you get instructions when you start it. So for those of you who do what I do and just kind of went in blindly, you might have been disappointed at first until you pop this dial out and realize that now you're adjusting the top portion of the band and you can tighten it or loosen it if you want to. And then you pop it back in and you do this part. That's huge. You'll get these instructions again when you start up the Vision Pro for the first time, but I tried it before I did that, so it was a nice little learning experience for me. Overall, though, the band is still soft, breathable, and honestly, this is the first version of a band that I could wear for longer periods of use. But I will still admit, the relief that you get after you take the headset off is still such a good feeling, which is not great still. The weight and premium materials are still too much for this headset to be on your face at all times, at least for me. I want to reduce the weight at all costs. Whether that means kind of getting rid of this very premium form factor, I might be all for that if you can still deliver, the performance level of it. Now, one of the biggest changes for me that I noticed right away, again, was creating my new persona. Personas, which are your digital representation in FaceTime calls and meetings, now generate in just a few seconds instead of taking a few minutes like it did before, which is a big time saver. But that's thanks to the M5. However, they look far more realistic too, with better volumetric rendering and improved eye and mouth tracking. This is mostly some really good software improvements too with visionOS 26. So with these older units, the M2 ones, you'll still see a pretty dramatic difference. I forgot just how bad my persona looked out of the box when I got my first Vision Pro. So obviously I've lost some weight, so that'll help with my overall appearance. But from a beyond superficial reasoning, you can just see how bad the original looked. It's not just me, it's also just kind of the way there's not a lot of detail in the face and the facial features. It just seemed very flat. And now with the new one, you can see the beard that I have, the 5 o'clock shadow at the time when I did this, the, different lines on my face, my birthmark I have on my face. You can see that much clearer than you could if you could even do it at all on the last version. So that's a huge improvement. And so taking these new and improved personas into a FaceTime call just makes things so much more realistic. It's so much more noticeable. Facial lighting reacts more naturally and motion feels smoother thanks to the high-speed neural rendering. It's still a weird feeling to be with other personas in an environment like Mount Hood, for example, but it's also pretty cool to have this near lifelike experience from the comfort of your own home or wherever you might be. Spatial photos, again, have also been upgraded in a big way. visionOS 26 uses new computational depth algorithms that turn your 2D images into 3D spatial scenes, and the M5's neural engine processes them in real time. It is very fast. You can pull up a standard photo and watch it transform. The whole sense of the depth layering and the parallax is really convincing now. That same AI system also helps with faster spatial video playback. And not sure if you knew this, but now you have system level support for 180 and 360 degree video. So if you have a GoPro or an Insta360 footage, you can now make some pretty great native immersive videos all from your own home. I do just also want to mention how much faster, again, these spatial photos will render out. It's nearly instant. It's still mind-blowing to see how lifelike these photos can become, from standard 2D images to 3D looking images. It's always a wow factor moment for me and something I make people try when they try to test out the Vision Pro for the first time. And we'll just kind of jump to the TLDR of the M5 itself. It just makes everything much more fluid. Multitasking is fluid. You can run 3 or 4 full-size spatial apps, a massive Mac virtual display, and a movie environment all at once without really dropping any frames. Rendering quality in apps like Freeform and Keynote, the productivity suite as a whole just feels sharper. And battery life has even improved a little bit here too. You have about 2.5 hours of general use or 3 hours for continuous video playback, which is a small but noticeable bump up from the original. Now, couple all of the hardware improvements with the visionOS 26 experience, and it really does make it a better experience because this version kind of finally ties everything all together. And I feel like this is how Apple should have launched Vision Pro. It didn't, but we're now there to a really good level. The new home view adds deeper customization, you have better control panels, and widgets that actually live in your space and remain in your space that you can pin like a weather widget or a clock next to your workspace, and it just kind of becomes part of your virtual room is really cool. The updated control center is easier to access with these new hand gestures and now includes guest user modes and travel modes, all right there, easy to access. And for entertainment, there's more Apple immersive video content than ever, even with a new video that was made for Vision Pro, but from a third-party production company. It wasn't something that Apple went out and did itself. And we need a lot more of that if this is going to become a new way to consume content, because it just looks amazing on this display. Content with the Vision Pro is still king to me here. This is one of the best experiences. Even just watching YouTube, Netflix, any standard content is such a good experience compared to some other form factors out there, and is a huge reason why I love the Vision Pro for media consumption. So even though this new M5 Vision Pro isn't some crazy upgrade and there's not a lot of new, physical features that you can see and point to and say, hey, that's a new Vision Pro, it's still a very good refined version of Apple's vision for spatial computing. The M5 chip, it pushes performance. The dual nip band finally solves comfort for the most part, and the visionOS 26 update adds polish and personality and just makes it a much better experience. I think I've said that 100 times already. Should you still buy this at $3,500? Probably not for most people out there. Pricing does remain still a bit of an issue for me, but I can't say that you won't be getting a really good product for that price. You just need to figure out whether any of these things that I've talked about, any of the capabilities that you can get with Vision Pro, are worth it for you and something that you would use on a regular basis. But I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Are you a current Vision Pro user, the M2 maybe? Did you upgrade to the M5? Do you agree with some of these changes? Or are you someone that held out and now you're looking at the new M5 and thinking, this might be a good upgrade for me now. I might actually pull the trigger on one. Let me know in those comments down below. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.